Hey everybody, for this video I'm going to introduce to you the first programming software we will use for this class called Scratch. First off, to access the Scratch software, you must type scratch.mit.edu into your web browser, then hit enter. That'll take you to the software. Then you hit create, which will take you to where we program. All right, we can close this out because we don't need it. Now, basically, every Scratch program you create for this class, you'll be manipulating a sprite variable. What is a sprite? A sprite is an object that you give instructions to. You can tell it to move, you can tell it to shrink, grow, rotate, you can tell it to make a noise, you can tell it to do all sorts of actions. Okay? All Scratch programs begin with they begin with a single default sprite, this cat. Okay? Now, for this video, this is the sprite we're going to stick with because our aim is just to get familiar with the Scratch software. But as we get to the more advanced projects, you're not limited to just the cat. You can use dragons and all other sorts of different sprites, and you'll also be able to use more than one sprite, all depending on the application that you're making. Okay? Now, when programming, programs don't just start on their own. They start when something happens, either because you press a go button, a start button, or you press a button on the keyboard, etc., etc. So, how do we tell the program to do something when an event occurs? That starts by coming here to the left and clicking the events section. Here's where we'll get all our blocks for telling the program to do something when a certain event occurs. For Scratch, the most common event that we use for starting a sequence of actions is clicking this green flag. So if I want something to occur when this green flag is clicked, I come down here to the left and I select the when green flag is clicked block. Then underneath here, I place the instructions I want to happen when the green flag is clicked in the order that I want it to happen. So for instance, if I want this cat to move to the right when the green flag is clicked. Here, I'll come over to the motion section, which is up here on the left. I'm going to select move 10 steps. And I can change this number. I can change it from 10, I can change it to 5, 25, whatever number I want. But for now, I'll just leave it at the default. So right here, what I'm telling the sprite to do is when this green flag is clicked, move 10 steps. So when I hit the green flag, that's what the sprite does. If I increase it to 100, notice it takes bigger steps, so on and so forth. Here I'm going to drag it and then continue. Green flag, move, move. I can also have it move in the negative direction. Here, negative 20. When I hit green flag, moves in the negative direction. It takes negative 20 steps in the negative direction. All right, let's throw it away. Now I can also ask it to rotate counterclockwise. I can tell it to rotate clockwise 15 degrees. I can also tell it to rotate counterclockwise when the green flag is clicked. All right. But before I get onto that, before I finish the other motion events, let's finish up the event section. Now, the green flag is not the only event that can trigger an action. The other action is when a button on the keyboard is pressed. For example, I can say when the space bar is pressed, turn 15 degrees. Counterclockwise. Okay? I could say when the up arrow is pressed, turn 15 degrees. I can make any of the arrows or any of the letters or any of the numbers, any of these buttons I can use to trigger an event. I could say when 7 is pressed, turn 15 degrees, so on and so forth. These are all different kind of events you can create depending on the application that you're making. Another kind of event, when this sprite is clicked. So this means when I click on the sprite, just tell the sprite what you want to do. If I want the sprite to turn 15 degrees, when it's clicked, that's what it'll do. I click the sprite, turns 15 degrees whenever I click on it. Now, the remaining events, when backdrop switches. Now, backdrop for Scratch is another word for background. This, along with the loudness and broadcasting message event, These are more advanced events that we'll explain more later on in the unit when we get to more advanced applications. For now, the vast majority of the time, the events you're going to be using for your programs are when green flag is clicked, when a certain button on the keyboard is clicked, or when the sprite is clicked. These are the most common events. Now for the remainder of the video, we're just going to go over all the different motion actions you can give to your sprite. We've already demonstrated move. When an action occurs, have it move 10 steps. We've already seen the clockwise and the counterclockwise commands. The next one we're going to go over, let's get rid of these, we don't need it for now, is the go to random position. So when I say when the green flag is clicked, the sprite will move to a random position on the canvas, completely random. Okay. The other option, here I'm going to click the down arrow, is the mouse pointer, which means go to wherever the mouse is pointing to. Now, this kind of command wouldn't make sense for the green flag event because obviously whenever I click the green flag, right, that's obviously where the mouse is going to be. Okay, there's only one place the mouse can be when I'm clicking the green flag. However, if I use, let's say I use the when the space bar event, when the space key is pressed, now I can put my mouse wherever I want the sprite to go. Then when I press space, the sprite will go wherever my mouse happens to be. Okay. All right, back to the motion. Next, now not only can you tell it, we've seen it go to a random location, and we've also seen it go to wherever the mouse is pointing to. What you can also have the sprite do is go to a specific location on the canvas. Type the exact X and Y coordinates on the board that you want the sprite to go to. Now you may be wondering, well, let's suppose I want the sprite to come right here in this slightly left part of the board. How do I know what the X and Y coordinates are for that location? Well, simply click and drag the sprite to wherever you want to move it. Then you come down here and you can see what the X and Y coordinates are for that location. So if this is the location I want the sprite to move to, whenever the green flag is clicked, I'm going to type these X and Y coordinates over here. For X, I'm going to type -116. And for Y, I'm going to type +11. So now I drag the sprite anywhere. Whenever I hit the green flag, it's going to go right to that location, no matter where I started from. When the green flag is clicked, it goes to that precise location. Another command is the glide command. Now, when you tell it to glide, it's going to glide to the wall. And how fast it glides depends on how much time you put here for seconds. Okay? So here we say glide to random position. Okay. Now that took 1 second. If I were to increase the number of seconds, then it's going to travel slower. All right. Okay, because it's taking up more time. The more time I give it, the longer it's going to take to complete its travel. Okay. Whereas if I put, for example, half a second, if I decrease the time to half a second, it's going to move very fast. And of course, I can also have it glide to wherever my mouse is pointing to. And as explained, I wouldn't do that for a green flag clicked event. That would make more sense for when a key on the keyboard is pressed. But yeah, so it can glide either to a random position or to wherever your mouse is pointing to, or you can have it glide to a specific location on the board. Once you know where exactly you want it to glide to, we've already demonstrated how to figure out the X and Y coordinates are for any location on the board. Once you've determined where you want it to glide, simply type it into the X and Y slots here. Then that's where the sprite will travel when you select the green flag. So if I say 0, 0, go to the origin, here, it will glide to the origin. Next command, point. You can have it point in a certain direction. Now, as you can see here, the default, when the program was first created, the default direction that the sprite faces is 90 degrees. That's by default. All right. And if it's pointing directly up, then that's 0 degrees. It's pointing to the left, that's a negative 90 degrees. And if it's facing straight downward, that's 180 degrees. Okay. Now, let's say when the green flag is clicked, I want it to face here. I can bring it to 45 degrees, then it'll do that. Press the green flag, then it'll face in that direction. You can use this bar as a way to help you determine what the degrees are you're looking for. But just notice that as I scroll up, it goes up and down in increments of 15. It goes up and down in increments of 15. So if you want, let's say you want a specific direction, right? That's not divisible by 15. You can type that number in. Okay. So for example, I could type 77 degrees. All right. And then, need a way to let go of this. Okay. That's annoying. If I type it, that's annoying. All right, so I can type 77 degrees, enter. And then when I hit the green flag, that's the direction it'll be facing. Okay. So that's just another command you can give the sprite. You can tell it when an event occurs, have it point in this direction. You could also tell it to point in the direction of wherever your mouse is. Okay. So let's say I move this right here, when the space key is pressed, point the sprite wherever my mouse pointer is. So right now, my mouse is over here. I hit space, the sprite points at it. Move the mouse over here, the sprite points there. Here's my mouse. So notice that whenever I hit space, the sprite points to wherever my mouse is located. Okay. Next, we have the change X by. Now the change X command is very similar to the move command in that when you're telling change X by 10 steps, you're telling it to move 10 steps in the horizontal direction. So therein lies the difference between the change X command and the move command. When I use the change command, I'm either moving left or right. I'm always moving horizontally. Okay? If I put in a positive number, then it'll move to the right horizontally. If I put in a negative number, like say negative 10, then it'll move to the left horizontally. The change X command can only move it left or right, whereas the move command moves it in whatever direction the sprite happens to be facing it. So right now, as you can see, it's pointing in the 0 degrees direction, or approximately 0.3 to be exact. So when I move it, that's the direction it moves to. If I change the direction to 30, retype that again. I change the direction to 30 degrees, and that's the direction it's going to move in. So for the move command, again, move, change X, they both move in steps, but the move command moves in whatever direction the sprite happens to be facing at that point in time, whereas the change X can only move horizontally. Likewise, change Y. Okay? The change Y command can only move up or down. Okay? Straight up or straight down. Okay? Never anywhere else. Straight up or straight down. Okay? Now, set X. If I set X to a number, now I'm setting its exact X coordinates to a specific value. So right now, the location of the sprite is -8, -28. So let's say I want its X position to be, suppose I want it to move to the center of the screen. I want to set X to 0. Okay? When I say set X to 0, I'm not telling it to take 0 steps. I'm saying change the X coordinate of its location to 0 when I hit that green flag. Okay? If I say 50, I'm saying when the green flag is clicked, change its X location to 50. Right? So while the change X command takes the current X value and increases it by whatever number you put inside the box, the set X command sets the X value to the exact value you type inside the box. Okay? Same for the set Y command, except now you're talking about the Y location. What is the horizontal location of the sprite? Next, we have the if on edge bounce. So let's say I'm going to move my sprite right here. Then I'm going to say change X. Let's get rid of this. Change X by 50. Okay. Now, considering I'm already so close to the edge, chances are when I hit, I don't know why I keep on changing on me. Now, since it's already so close to the edge, chances are when I select the green flag, I'm going to run into the wall. Okay. It's only going to take maybe 1 or 2 clicks for the sprite to hit the wall. What if on edge bounce does means if the sprite currently happens to be touching the edge, either of these 4 edges, north, south, east, or west, bounce it. Have it face the other direction. So here, let me hit the green flag. Hit it, see it bounced. Okay. Let's do it again. Okay. Instead of change X, let's just do the move command. Okay. So that it'll move in whatever direction it happens to be facing. So move 10 steps. If on edge bounce, let's move. So it's moving 10 steps. Boom. Once it hits that edge, it bounces. Okay. See, so the if on edge only activates if it happens to be on the edge of the board, of the canvas. Okay. So that's all the if on edge bounce does. It just assesses is the sprite currently making contact with one of the 4 edges. If it does, bounce it, reverse its direction. Next, you have the set rotation style. So you have 3 options for set rotation style. If you choose left, right, that simply means that no matter how many turn commands you apply, no matter what you do, it can only face left or right. So if the direction is any number between positive 0 and 180, it's going to face the right. Whereas if it's any number between if it's anywhere on this side, negative 0 to negative 180, it'll be facing the left. So anywhere on this side is facing right. Anywhere on this side is facing left. So there are only 2 options when you say left, right. Don't rotate means no matter how many times I tell it to turn, it's simply not going to rotate. It simply will not rotate. Left, right, I'm sorry, I already explained left, right. All around means all changes in direction you'll see reflected. Okay, so all around is the one you'll most commonly use. Okay? So it's 3 options. Always have the change in direction reflected on the sprite, or either have it face either left or right only, or have it don't rotate at all, no matter what you set the direction to. Okay. And then these last 3 are not commands, they're not instructions, they're actually variables, which we will explain later on in the course when we get to the variable unit. Thank you for watching the video.